Oh. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I see that we're also joined by a number of folks online who have tuned in. Very happy to have with us today Her Excellency Annalena Baerbock, President of the General Assembly, and she will be providing some updates and taking questions from you. About things that are happening with the General Assembly and with her office. And so without further ado, I will turn the floor over to Her Excellency.
Good afternoon also from my side. Happy Friday, and thank you for the opportunity to update you on the current priorities of the General Assembly. As you all know, we are in the midst of the 70th session of the Commission of the Status of Women, which began by marking the International Women's Day and underlining how important it is, especially in these days, to strengthen women's rights. Because all around the world, we can see women's rights are the benchmark for the strength, freedom, and economic development of societies, so therefore in the interest of all. Gender equality has never been more supported globally than today, but at the same time, we have never seen such organized attempts to roll back these successes. That makes this session of the CSW an incredibly important one, and I think we have all felt in the room, but especially also in the run-up to the International Women's Day all around the world, the strong signal that women and girls everywhere in the world will never let go of the rights they have achieved so far. This was underlined also on Monday in the General Assembly Hall by the vast majority of member states who defended women's and girls' rights with their vote, a rebuke to those who would have us turn back the clock on women's equality. Whether it be to the protection of women and girls in the digital space, the understanding of intersectionality, and the right of every woman, like every man, to decide about their own bodies and their own health. And these days also underline the strong commitment of many delegations. I have welcomed many representatives from all regions around the world, be it presidents of the parliaments, be it foreign ministers, be it ministers from family or for social affairs, because most of the states have understood over the last decades that any improvement with regard to gender equality is also strengthening their societies. As we say sometimes, it's the economy, stupid, and the facts are crystal clear. If countries would close the gender pay gap, the productivity all around the world, the GDP, would increase by $12 trillion. If we would close the digital divide between men and women, the world economy would grow until 2050 by over $100 trillion. This is the GDP combined between the United States and China. And we would also see if all women had the same opportunities to work as they would like to work, also ensuring that you have childcare available. This could increase the global GDP by 28 trillion again, which would be an increase of 26% according to the McKinsey Global Institute. So again, women's rights are in the interest of all. Yet, as we have seen over the last week, not only women's rights are under attack, it's also true for the international order. Therefore, defending the UN Charter remains my central priority of the 80th session. In just the last few weeks, we have marked the 4th year of the Russian full invasion of Ukraine, and we have seen an extremely dangerous military escalation between Iran, the United States, and Israel that threatens to engulf the entire region in conflict. The Secretary General and I have underlined the UN Charter is clear. The international community and its member states all have a responsibility to protect human rights, as well as to refrain from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, or in other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. We know that the Charter and international law is only as strong as the will to uphold it. Therefore, given the recent discussions on international law, I would like to remind member states that international law was not only written for the good times, but especially for the challenging situations. And we have seen also in last decades that unfortunately also here in the United Nations, the Security Council has faced vetoes and blockage. Yet, in every time it has been extremely important to not question this institutional or international law, but try to overcome this blockage of the Security Council, as difficult as this might be, because otherwise we would lose the principle of this institution all by itself, and by that the life insurance for all countries around the world to be able to sleep in peace, because you can trust that nobody is violating peace and security and thereby violating the security of your own countries. So again, I call on all member states to abide by the values and principles enshrined in this fundamental document. At a time when this institution is under so much pressure, the UNAIDS reform becomes even more important. So there is no time to waste. The opposite is true, because the times are so challenging and this institution is so much under pressure. We need even more and very serious debate how to modernize this institution and make it more efficient and more delivering on the principles. Together with the Secretary General, therefore, I, as the President of the General Assembly, am driving the reform process forward, and we are keeping up our ambitious timetable, especially for Workstream 2, to make this organization fit for purpose and strengthen it for the 21st century challenges. The co-chairs of the ad hoc working group for Workstream 2 are currently working with the member states to finalize the outcome report for adoption in the General Assembly by the end of this month, which is when their mandate draws to a close. For Workstream 1 and 3 of the UNAIDS process, I continue to hold monthly informal briefings on the progress of the United Nations UNAIDS Reform Initiative with USG Guy Ryder and the other speakers and agencies. Heading towards April, so no time to rest here as well. As you all know, we are also heading towards the interactive dialogue for the next Secretary General. This process is well underway. As you are aware, the interactive dialogue with the SG candidates will be the week of 20th April. We circulated information on how the dialogues will be conducted, and we will continue to share additional information as it becomes available. During the interactive dialogues, each candidate will have the opportunity to present their vision statement, answer member states' questions, and engage with civil society organizations. I invite you as representatives of the press, and therefore also those who could share all these dialogues throughout the world, to engage in this process, maybe even before the interactive dialogue starts, to cover the topics and also the different candidates, because the choice of who leads this organization matters deeply, especially in these challenging times, as they will also represent what this institution stands for in the future and if it truly represents all humankind. In this regard, I'm looking forward to seeing you quite soon again when we get into the months of April and the preparation for the interactive dialogues.
Wonderful. So we have 21 minutes. So if there are questions, just so that we provide some structure, if there are questions regarding the SG selection, we will take those first, followed by questions on CSW and women's rights. And then if we have time for other questions, we will take those. Questions on the SG selection.
Lenise, can I do an official welcome to the President of
Please,
the
Edie.
General Assembly on behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association. Thank you for doing this briefing, and we hope you will do many more. My question is mainly on CSW, but can you tell us the date that you're going to start doing these meetings with the individual candidates?
Thank you. I'm
and
happy to come back
CSW?
to the CSW question, but you wanted to collect for Secretary General, yeah? So I
Great.
take notes.
Would you
yeah.
like a few of those,
Yeah.
PGA? SG questions. Okay, Pamela, Gabe, and we have one more. Yes, we'll take those.
Thank you to the PGA for all of us as well. Pamela Falk from U.S. News and World Report. Big picture question. In summary, you've been in office. What do you think the qualities that you'd like to see in the next Secretary General? I mean, you could write a doctoral thesis on this, but in short, thank you.
Okay, Gabriel. and-
Hi, this is Gabriel Elizondo from Al Jazeera English. I know we're short on time, so I'll make it quick. Have you spoken specifically to Rafael Grossi about stepping down as the head of the IAEA or not? And if not, why?
Thank you, Madam President, for this briefing. On the next Secretary General, I just want to know your personal opinion on why this organization hasn't had a woman president in 80 years, and how hopeful are you that we're going to have a woman president this time?
Okay, one more on the SG.
Kyoto Tanaka from the Asahi Shimbun Japanese newspaper. Similar question. We got 3 candidates, female candidates, so far. What are your reaction to it, and what do you expect for the selection process?
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you. So maybe I start with the last part and repeat so everybody is aware again. We have indeed so far 5 nominations. First came in November by Argentina of Rafael Grossi. Then in February by Chile, Brazil, and Mexico of Michelle Bachelet. Then beginning of March by Burundi, the former president of Senegal, Macky Sall. Then in March by Costa Rica of Rebecca Greenspan. And just recently in March by Maldives, Virginia Gamba of Argentina. With regard to Pamela, your question, obviously we all have different thoughts in our mind, but the PGA does not have time for a thesis to write about her criteria for the next SG, and especially my role is to implement the revitalization resolution. And as outlined in the revitalization resolution and in the joint letter, there are a couple of criteria, so also the question about competence is answered in this letter, that this next Secretary General should provide strong and dedicated, effective leadership skills with experience in governance structures, but also with regard to United Nations, with regard to management skills of this institution in the light of the reforms. And then it has also the strong call with regard to regional diversity, and this call in consensus by 193 member states to strongly call on member states for the nomination of women. And these are the criteria set by all member states in consensus, and then everybody who will be part of this process can also decide by themselves about their choice. My role is to lead this process based on the resolution, but also based on the strong call for the representation of this institution, the principles and the charter. And this is why the setup for this interactive dialogue, as outlined in my letter, will be structured. It will be 3 hours for every candidate. I know myself this is long, but as PGA, I have also done it, and member states really valued that they really had the chance to ask the question and to engage. We invite also civil society, and this will be structured around the personal vision statement statements and the management skill. And then in the second part around the 3 pillars being peace and security, sustainable development and climate and human rights, to precisely speak about these principles of the United Nations, as I said, as outlined in the resolution 79/327 and the joint later. In this regard, this is also the answer to the question of Al Jazeera. Many of the candidates contacted me, so I spoke with many of the candidates at different occasions. There had been also the call with regard to financial disclosure, again in the resolution by the member states, and also the call with regard of upholding current positions in the UN system. Again, it's up to member states with regard to the implementation of this resolution. I'm guiding the process. And with regard to individual person, please, you probably understand in this process that this is a very transparent, very neutral and fair process in which every candidate, and maybe there are more coming, will have the same chances and opportunities of this 3-hour interactive dialogue. And this is why, relating again, and thank you for the kind words for the date, we will start in the week of the 20th of April. Again, these times are not short of challenges. We have in parallel the NPT review conference with many delegations and representatives here as well, and with many room bookings. So also these technical issues are being part of the process. So it depends how many more candidates will come, how often we have to split the day in a morning session of 3 hours and an afternoon session of the 3 hours. And if we have tripling of the candidates, obviously this 1 week won't be enough, but for the current moment we have 5, and this would fit in all in these dates. So this is why we will be more precise on the exact dates when we know how many, and this is also why I called on the nomination to be handed in before 1st of April, so we can organize a process where not only member states can be assuring that they are all there, but also media. And the big interest, I heard it also from many member states visiting me, how they can also live stream these interactive hearings to their countries, to their parliaments or their regional constituencies.
Okay, what follow-up questions on SG or?
CSW.
Okay, then we have CSW, Edie, and then Stefano, you also had a CSW question. Other questions on CSW? Please, Edie.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This was the first time that in CSW's history that the Commission on the Status of Women did not adopt its outcome document by consensus. What is your reaction to that, and what do you believe the impact of these divisions are for the fight to achieve gender equality?
Stefano, you had a question as well on CSW.
Madam President, thank you. During CSW week, Israel hosted a UN-side event with Iranian women who described imprisonment, torture, and repression under the Iranian regime, who openly called for its end. Would you have been willing to participate in such an event? And what message would you send today to those Iranian women in Iran?
Do we have other questions on CSW? Abdel Hamid online, who's joining us online, I believe. I see your hand. Mm-hmm.
Yes, my question also on CSW 70. And I want to ask you, Madam President, about the Gaza women. I feel they were ignored in this session. Why is that? And the second, about the girls' school in Iran, which 170 of them were killed. Do you condemn that outright and unequivocally? Thank you.
Okay. Those are all of our questions on CSW, looking online as well. All right, thank you all. I will turn the floor over to the PGA.
Thank you for all these very important questions. Edie, first, with regard to the vote on Monday on the CSW outcome, to be very precise, we never have seen a vote before, but we have seen before that there hasn't been an outcome document. And I think this is very important because it also underlines in these challenging times that we have progress besides the backlash. And for me, this is really important. I think we have spoken about it before, because especially in a digital world where hate and bad news click 6 times better than good news, we have to be very careful that we are not entering this vicious circle about negative news, reinforcing more negative news, because the successes are all there, especially for women's rights. I was naming numbers. If full gender parity would be there, what the economy would achieve. But I mean, there are many women here in the room who still had the situation that when you were working and your husband had a job being paid less, still you need the signature in this country to get a credit card, or at least to improve the limit of the credit card. Even recently in the last years, my generation was facing the same situation now on a digital level, that the algorithm of credit cards was still programmed on this old bias that when I earned more than my husband, still automatically the credit card debit frame was larger for a male husband. Doesn't matter what the woman was earning. So this work in progress is ongoing, but we're taking positive step by positive step. And now looking at this situation that for the first time we do have a vote. But this also underlined for the first time, because there has been this vote, that the vast majority was not working hand in hand with those who want to see a backlash. So the positive news about this, and this is the positive news, that the rest, all other member states being part of CSW decision-making at that moment, are supporting the progress also in this CSW resolution. And the second very important message from this year, but I think we all feel it around the world, women are so strongly empowered everywhere. The topics we had in the past about cultural relativism, that maybe in some regions women's rights are not as important as in other regions, this is not there anymore, especially not shared by women at all. And these women, because they are capable by digital tools, are now joining hands. So women in the Americas, in Europe, are speaking up, maybe related to the question if they are facing atrocities of women suffering in Iran. The question was, what is my message to the women of Iran? As a woman and also as a PGA standing up for human rights, we stand at your side. In my previous role, this is why there has been installed a fact-finding mission in the Human Rights Council with regard to the violations against Iranian women. Related to the question in Gaza, we have had this discussion also before, because for me, human rights and also women's rights are indivisible. I do not work on the grounds if you speak about violation in Afghanistan about women's rights at one event. This would mean you are not looking at violations of women's rights in Gaza or the suffering of women and girls in Gaza. If we start to divide who's suffering more against ethnic groups and especially against women, this just plays in the hands of those who are trying to divide this big solidarity. And why is there an effort to divide this big solidarity? Because at the moment, everybody can see women will not step back if their rights are being under attack. And therefore also, especially with Afghanistan, and this is why I'm mentioning it very often, also here at CSW, the systematic attack on women and girls in Afghanistan is this most severe attack on human rights, because in Afghanistan, women are denied every normal human right we are all enjoying. They are imprisoned in their own homes. And unfortunately, we have not spoken about that one intensively enough, especially in a time when we saw other violations of international law in peace and security. At the same moment, the Taliban regime issued this new legislation about violence against women and girls, and there was no outcry at all. This doesn't mean that other human rights violations in other parts are less important. It just underlines again why it's so important to speak about all of one. And therefore, I also condemned the massive killing and exercise use of force against the protesters in Iran at the same time in January, February, where we have reports about more than 30,000 people being killed, especially also young people, many, many women and girls. This is why I also called not only a strong condemnation of this human rights violation to stop, but that all of those have to be held accountable for these crimes. This is why the fact-finding mission of the Human Rights Council is so important still in these times, because they are responsible for collecting these evidence so that one day perpetrators can be brought to justice. And this goes also to the situation of women and girls in Gaza. I just met with De Gross from UNDP. He reported me back on his visit in Gaza about the horrible situation that with regard to the trucks and humanitarian aid entering Gaza. The progress is very, very little, also for UN trucks. This means, again, women and girls are suffering most. If housing is demolished as it is on the ground, that hardly any reconstruction at the moment is possible, and therefore I'm really thankful, because also the horrible situation of civilians in Gaza has to be addressed, and the same goes for accountability and the protection of civilians in Gaza. Bringing me to the question of the horrible strike on the girls' school in Iran that has resulted in the deaths of more than 160 civilians, especially children, especially girls. Civilians and civilian infrastructure must be protected in all times. Unacceptable that a school was hit by a strike during school hours. There's clear international humanitarian law about the responsibilities in times of war. Therefore, it is very important that we have an investigation of this terrible and tragic incident, and any violation of international humanitarian law cannot remain without consequences. Also here, accountability for those responsible must be given.
Okay. That is, we have time for one more question. Is it a follow-up? Oh, sorry, let me go to someone who hasn't asked a question yet, sorry. You could just say your name and your news organization.
Okay, Esteban Capdepon from FNews. Thank you for your briefing. My question is regarding the reformation, the UN reform process. I was wondering you can give some more details or be some more specific on some issues, for example, what's going on or going to happen with the veto power, and then if you can advance some of these ambitious timetable that you are working with. Thank you.
Thank you. Given the short time and this complex UNAID process, I try to point at a different expert. First of all, we have this three different work stream. Work stream 1 about the financial situation. Luckily, we could succeed to have a budget at the end of 2025, but the SG has rang the alarm bell that we would face another liquidity, not only crisis, but shutdown in June, July, if member states are not paying their contribution in full. In time is not possible anymore, because in time is over, but many, after this strong call, paid then a couple of days later, but still many member states have not paid their current obligation. So therefore, this is the most important thing, the call on member state. Second, it's also part of the reform step, the SG and I myself. We are again tabling the proposal that the money which could not be spent because it was not being paid by member states, that this should not be reimbursed to the rest of the member states, because this is currently the rule, and this is a vicious circle. If the UN has to pay back money which it never received, obviously it's losing even more money and more cuts are needed. This is now again under discussion in the fifth committee, and especially also myself, I'm calling on member states to look at this point again. So this is work stream 1 with the current financial situation. Work stream 2 is the work in the General Assembly, and this is where I said with a very ambitious timetable, because member states decided to have this ad hoc working group looking how we can make our work in the General Assembly more efficient. For example, that we have thousands of resolutions with duplications. There are proposals now to have sunset clauses for resolutions, but also if we have to have every resolution every year, or if it can be biannual or not. There are other parts where we have the high-level meetings. We have also more than 1,000 meetings all around, what I said, even difficult to find spaces. Member states agreed, for example, that in September there should not be more than 3 high-level meetings altogether, but 5 have been already suggested. So obviously this is contradicting the own proposals. So we are trying to bring this down again. Then proposals on speaking time limitation, because if we have unlimited speaking time, we need translation in all the 6 languages, we need the rooms. This is also a lot of money. So many proposals in this working group, and as I said, the co-chairs from Jamaica and New Zealand, they worked intensively, and I'm very thankful to that, in the last months on almost daily consultation with member states, and especially also with capitals. They will publish their final reports at the end of March, and their mandate goes till the end of March, so 31st of March, and there has been this clear call of adopting the proposals, but we are in the midst of the negotiations, so we can give more update on that report when it's finally published. Workstream 3, also a topic which has been here for CSW, is with regard especially of the many agencies, the proposals by the SG with regard to mergers, making the work on the ground more efficient, really delivering for the people on the ground. And we're in the midst of this process, but the SG can update more on the details, and especially Guy Riders, but he's giving his monthly briefing also in the General Assembly, so it comes from the resident coordinators, how they can coordinate better. It's a discussion about the humanitarian reset, how the humanitarian agencies work more efficient together. It's a question about duplications over the last couple of years, the merger between UN Women and UNFPA. So many proposals, and also on that one, we are trying to do as much as we can in the upcoming months to decide on these reform steps within this 8-year session, but also within the term of this Secretary General. So don't book a too long summer holiday, because I can promise you, hopefully not outside there in the world with other negative events happening, but inside this building, that we will have many not only work, but also reform steps we are going to take. I thank you.
Thank you all so much, and have a lovely weekend.